79T 2458 Learning Corp. Little Red Riding Hood. Take one.
Trying something new. Let's see how it goes. Welcome, guys. It's Red Morning. What a wonderful little Saturday we got going on. Don't mind them. Don't mind the microphone. We're getting into position. Everything's going so well so far. Super positive day. You know the deal. What do we see here? Juan Doe with a €2 super chat. Coach ain't a millennial. Didn't watch Dragon Ball. All right. Well, whatever it tells you. Whatever it tells yourself. It's a weird episode. So all right. Let me get caught up in the chat. Protect Ryan at all costs. Like the video. This is going to be a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing in that I don't have any prep beforehand. This is one of those, you know, those every now and then there's a tweet like, what would you talk about if you had 20 minutes with no preparation time? Well, that's where we are. Yeah, the fornicators. We're actually going to talk a little bit about that one. That's going to be funny. You guys are basically looking into what like 2015 Roosh Trump era was like. Too bad Tate's off social media. I could hope I could wind him up with more criticisms from Ryan. It's not even criticisms. It's just calling stuff out. What do we got here? Lucas, I don't give an F. Oh, sweet Jesus. Sweet Jesus. All right. Let me fix a couple things here. So I'm trying something new. More pepper in this thing and give it a little more entertainment value. Anyways, It's been a long couple weeks, so I've just put the final touches on the book, and now the editing process starts, which it's going to have to do. For perspective, if any of you guys have read my first book, F-Files, that was 70,000 words, which is nice, but this one's already topping out like 110, 115, and I'm like, that's way too big. At 120, you're essentially like, people will argue that you need to make 2 books. So the editing, it's going to cut it right down. And it was weird, the scope of it. Like I've learned, there's actually a lot to this space. There's the archetypes of men. There's the tetrahedron of frame. You guys have never heard this stuff, by the way. It's like, it's underlying all of the videos I do, but nobody ever talks about it explicitly because nobody really knows. Like even Rolo. Rolo knows his stuff, but he isn't super aware of where he fits into the grander scheme of things and how people have implemented stuff. So it's kind of like why it's nice he gets to see how his stuff is like proliferated into the world in that. Sean Bipley, $100 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Or ma'am. I guess Sean can go either way. No, I'm just joking. I wish you guys would put something in there. I'd love to give a shout out, but I mean, I'll take your money. Fornication, please. Yeah. But it's good to know. And then Bishop, anything at under 500 pages is a booklet. Oh, fair enough. I like to keep mine at 3 at the max. But then again, we got millennials and Zoomers. We don't have the attention span as you Gen X types. 20 cuck article mentions. Too funny. Okay, so a couple things we're going to go here. We're going to go through some old Archwinger stuff. He's another one of the guys that has been through the red pill. Not as much as I'd like to of his work ended up in the book, but we're going to fix that and we're going to have some fun here. And you guys will see how a lot of the pithy catchphrases you see on Twitter, like kind of where they started from. Because he's really one of the OG guys. Like a lot of his stuff ended up being the stuff that made Twitter's tweet storms. Like if you've ever heard the saying, every unhappy wife is a grape victim, then yeah, that's an Archwinger one. I read Ryan's book every night. Fish Market, I wish that was true because that would be wonderful. A little obsessive, but wonderful. Please don't make me into a skin suit, sir. Pages are becoming irrelevant as most people read on e-readers. No. It's not that the actual pages, like the size of the book I'm talking about. It's just pages is like a unit of measurement because word count's another one. Pages is the easy one. There's usually around 250 words a page. So if you do the math, at 300 pages, 250 per. And it's not about the length either. Like, Sanction was a long book. Sanction was like 500,000 words. The thing was huge. I'm still convinced nobody read that thing before, but they were just fluffing him because that's what everybody was doing. And then he went on that murder spree, and everybody's like, oh, never mind. Never heard of this guy. Sanct what? Roman who? But, so yeah, there's this guy, and I don't know who he is. I've heard from Troy, he apparently had a bit of a history back in the day. from like the Rouge V forums, and it's essentially less attractive, less engaging, less popular Rouge. So it'll be good when you guys see like, why does he shit on Rouge all the time? He had some like, no, I'm gonna show you what the hell you see if you're not paying attention to the branding. We're probably going to avoid the kickboxer stuff and then some archwingers, and then we'll like riff off each other. I know a bunch of you guys will probably have questions of your own, super chats, that sort of thing. So let me get those timestamps going. Yeah, it was. To be fair, I mean, the 500,000 word count of that book, once you take out all the Nietzsche quotes, it cuts it maybe in half. But I get it's still on the docket. Once the mids watch are finished, I'm like, wouldn't that be awesome? Some kind of like masculine book club where I rip into like a lot of this trash, these trash ebooks that are floating around. That might be all right. But hey. Yeah, thanks, Billy. Okay. Where'd I start off? Oh, right. I love this one. I love this one. Come on, I hate that. Oh, here we go. Oh, come on, get me started.
Boom, what's up fam? Got some big news to share that unfortunately is not so good, so I'm gonna jump right into it. You're gonna watch this video and you're gonna cry. At least we can laugh at your eyes as you cry looking in the corner like a little girl in the fetal position.
I need that for the separation, good sir. So we're gonna look at this guy. Now, what is it? Troy actually told me some things about him. Let me find it. Where is it? Twitter half screen, I believe. There she is. There she is. So this guy, Knowland knows. I don't know much about him, so I'll give you a quick backstory. Am I really milking Twitter morons for content? I'm like, yeah. So from what I hear, where is it? He used to be a teacher in Eton, and they fired him. And he was big in the Rouge V forum. So here's 17 tips for men who want to find a good wife. Not just a wife, a good wife. A non-damaged wife. Now, I'm going to poke fun at this a lot, but realize there's some like underlying reasons why this is wrong. Like first, Madonna whore complex, 100%. If you don't know what that is, that's the idea that men have a duality in the same way women have like the alpha fucks beta bucks thing. I'm sure you guys know that, but you know me, I don't like talking about women. I like talking about dudes. So Madonna whore is how we picture women, is either the Madonna motherly whore or virgin, and then the whore of Babylon. And then the idea is you think women are one or the other, and you don't realize that they're just women, right? Women are women. They can do both. It's not a big deal. Comes up in a bunch of different ways. Like first off, when you do find this good wife, you find this good wife, and then she's been told her whole life that sex is bad and sex is wrong and sex is evil, and if you have sex, you're going to go to hell. And she's like basically gaslit into thinking all sex is like grape and stuff like that. And then what happens? They get married, finds a good woman, finds a good man, meet after high school, and then the church is like, all right, you're good to go now. Yeah, forget all that stuff I told you. Make it to babies. And so many like Christian, evangelical, Islamic men, they find their women will like perform their wifely duties and lay there for starfish. Also, they'll find she has so much sexual repressed tension in her head that she's basically frigid. She doesn't like sleeping with him at all until she wants to get pregnant, and then once she gets pregnant, she shuts it off. And then these guys come find their way to us degenerates in the space and ask, how can I sleep with my wife? And then after a little bit of working, you find out they're attractive dudes. Maybe they need some game work, but yeah, they've basically set themselves up for failure. And so what happens? They slowly start to fall out of love. The guy's looking for validation, sleeps with the first girl in his church that he can find, some soccer mom, some frumpy girl. She divorces him, and then she starts having her fear of missing out, and all that repressed stuff comes into like a way to control her sexuality, turns into a giant harlot. And the idea is that has all this crazy sex and stuff. That's why a lot of the girls that came from like highly religious backgrounds end up being porn stars. Like that's well, not a lot of them, but enough. That's kind of why they get there. It's basically a way of reclaiming. It's no different than if somebody tortures you and then when you're done, you torture them back. All right. Anyway, so 17 tips for men who find a good wife. I glanced briefly, so we're gonna be looking at this one together. Purge yourself of the poison of liberalism. Fornication has to stop first. Stop trying to get pleasure without responsibility. You're not a feminist. Don't act like one. I love how this is all written as if like this guy is the president of Earth. And he's like, hey, hey, truckers, get out of Ottawa. Stop fornicating. First off, anytime you hear the word fornication, realize somebody is a giant Roosh fan. That's something that he does. I don't know why he uses it, that word, fornication and sodomy. Maybe it's like resonates with the biblical people, but it's such like a, it's like, do you ever watch like Judge Judy? Those shows, Judge Joe Brown and that, and then you see this ratchet ass hoe in court trying to argue something. So as soon as they stand in front of the judge, they try to be eloquent, but it just comes across as weird, like you just picked up a dictionary and fucking pointed somewhere and it's like, that's the word today. I conversated with him earlier and like really small and overly enunciated. It's absolutely funny. You've never heard a normal man say this instead of this. Like, and honestly, if this is you guys, like this is me. I need things to talk about for 2 hours. So I'm more than happy to mess with this guy and bring the T-Rex army down. But like you guys need to just avoid this stuff like the plague. Like not only will this fill your head with nonsense, it will also reframe how you have conversations. It actively makes you worse by listening to it. So I'm not sure what like liberalism. I'm not here to do the conservative liberal thing. I'm pretty sure he's asking that we want to have a return to the monarchy, which I'm pretty sure nobody wants, but whatever. Fornication has to stop first. He never says why. You just have to take that as fact. And oh, hey, it's Red Hawk in chat. This is perfect because Red Hawk kind of knows this guy. So here's the thing. Anybody who's telling you like we have to save the West stuff, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they need to do. And if you're wondering, okay, so all this work has to happen, who has to make these sacrifices? The answer is you. For all of that, you have to do all the work. You have to do the sacrifice. There's a great post. I might actually pull it up in a bit here. It's you don't need a wife, only a blowjob, or the TradCon hustle. I'm gonna have to remember this one because it's really good. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to bother searching for it now. I remember that. Real Femme Sapien, we got Ali in the chat. $9.99. Thank you, madam. Like the video, triple T-Rex. Dude, the hat trick of T-Rex is what sells this stuff. You guys obviously know her channel. She's good. Honestly, I don't like the TradCon thing at all, but she's doing it in earnest. She's sincere. She's professional. She shows up on time. Out of all the people to admit that, like, I'm wrong on, I'm happy it's her. So go check out her channel if you haven't already, if that's your thing. Better yet, if your girlfriend or wife has always been wondering where to go, check that one out. Because last thing she needs is more dudes in there shitting up her chat. Oh, yeah, so the fornication has to stop first. Like, and how? Why? Where's the incentive? And this is where categorical imperatives come in. If you guys don't know, I talk a lot about categorical versus hypothetical imperatives. An imperative basically is like an order. A categorical imperative is you do X, you do Y. It's like a set standard morality. You know, you don't fornicate is bad. And a hypothetical imperative is more, if you want something, then do this. If you want to earn more money, you need to get a job. If you don't need more money, don't get another job. See what I mean? Red pill, for the most part, is hypothetical imperatives. That's what we mean when we call it a toolbox. You can take whatever you want out of it. There's guys who have stories about opening their marriage to have a mistress. There's guys who talk about getting a divorce, then plating their ex-wife and their rotation of girls. There's guys that talk about absconding from their families because the child support payments are too high and going and living in a non-extradition country. There's a lot of things that a lot of people will find morally gray at best and morally repugnant at worst. But that's not the point. It's not my job to tell you what your morality and your ethics are. It's not your job. It's certainly not Knowland Farms guy. It's nobody's job. It's your job. So the idea is for all of these notes, all of these strategies, all of these red-pilled concepts, you take morality out of the equation. Everything there is on the table. And then once it's on the table, you make that decision for yourself. It's a weird situation, and I know most guys aren't used to this, where you assume the reader is an adult and can make his own decisions. I know, it seems novel, it seems strange. Oh, it totally is. Think about that. Every time people ramble about how this is immoral and blah, 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 they're basically assuming everybody is an idiot but them, and you need to hide this information from them. And like, that's what you're getting here. And I want to say he's telling on himself, because usually when you think that everybody else is incompetent and will just follow anything you hear, because, oh, TV had it on. Like, yeah, mass murder, school shootings, Doom and Quake caused that. And then, of course, there's always the shout out to Jordan Peterson. Stop trying to get pleasure without responsibility. It's like, where's the authority? There is none. He wants it. He would love if we were in like a hardcore Sharia law state. But that's the problem. The people who have the power don't want that. And he has no way to influence them to want that. So all he's doing is yelling into the void. And then you're not a feminist. Don't act like one. And I hate to tell you, but just about everybody is a feminist. Feminist isn't really anything anyway. It was women who have it's a tactic. Women have the tactic of weaponizing the male protective instinct to women to get free shit. It's basically it. So that's number one. What's number two? Be wisely wary of most women, but don't mistrust all women. They are not the enemy. Liberalism is. Again, it's those goddamn godless heathen pinko liberals. They're what does it. I don't know, man. Like, and the worst part is liberal is such like a weird term nowadays. You notice? Like, especially post-Trump. It means anything you want it to mean. There's guys who are called alt-right who say they're classical liberals. And I understand what the term means, but that's not how it's taken. So classical liberal means right-wing. But then you say somebody is a liberal, and then you assume that means a progressive. So you have to assume that they're he goes to Drag Queen Story Hour on the weekends, and then does his pride parade and gets monkeypox on, during his vacation. That's a liberal. And you're like, all right. But then you're like, oh, aren't the liberals the super rich people that are screwing people over and trying to invade the Ukraine? And you're like, okay, which one is it? Why don't you just say bad man? Because that's what you mean. It's like the evil. Like, just call them demons. Might as well. Especially this guy, because I'm pretty sure he believes in real life demons. Anyways, be wary of most women and don't mistrust them. It's like, there's nothing in there. So don't trust all women, but don't not trust all women. It either is or it isn't. It's either A or B. It's either one or one of the other numbers. It's like, thanks, coach. The trick to immortality is to never die. Put that on a book. They're not the enemy. Yeah. I mean, that's the one smart thing he said. Women aren't the enemy. Imagine how low you have to be where you're like, yeah, some 120-pound thought is my narcissistic arch nemesis. It's like, come on, dudes. Come on. Young women need your help. Feminism's brainwashed them, and all the foundational feminist thinkers were male. The men led them to it, and the men can lead them out. See that? You are great. We are awesome. We are made of better stuff. We are the chosen people. Feminists are evil little elves. And they tricked women. They caused school shootings because they showed them Quake and Doom. It's like, how stupid do you have to think women are? But that's what he's doing here. This is that, Rollo, his quote where women are either like the Machiavellian masters of the universe, or they're complete bobblehead emotional children, depending on which one makes you feel better about it, which one serves the imperative. That's what this is. So, like, which way do you want it? Are women, worthy of wisely wary of most women, or are they just brainwashed drones, right? It's like, Jesus. Oh, Confucius, we can get into the emergent strategies. I'm trying to stay on topic onto dunking on this turd. But yeah, so feminism brainwashed them. There's no incentive structure. There's no environmental change. And I'd say if you watch any Red Pill podcasts, and if you're watching this one, I hope you don't watch any other ones. I try to kill the manosphere engagement like across the board. The rising tide lifts all boats. I want to be the tide that sinks it. I'm the lowing of the tide. So women are stupid, and then feminists brainwash them. There's no chance that the pill, birth control methods, like successful birth control methods, freed up women from having to worry about the risk of pregnancy. No. It's feminism brainwashed them. There's no chance that the technological dissolution of product or detachment of productivity from labor due to the agricultural revolution switching over to the industrial and information ages. No, no, no. That doesn't mean women now can have it be their own beta bucks. No, no, no. It's feminism tricked them. Of course a woman's going to go to the office, and then we're going to retire her. It's like, I don't know. There's just, you have to really ignore a lot of history to have like a simplistic take, like women are stupid and easily gullible because some, and dude, name the most attractive, persuasive, feminist talking head you know. Think about it. Really hard. This is the best I can come up with.
We know that these videos really prey on vulnerable young men who have not had many experiences in dating.
That's the most persuasive, charismatic, aesthetic feminist I could find. So don't give me this whole girls at the bar. They won't even talk to unattractive guys, you know, the hot ones on dates. Any little bit of creepiness, they flake. But you mean to tell me some pork rind of a woman in college ranting about her dad is evil, and then they'll buy that? It's like, come on, dude. Speaking of brainwashing, that segue though, yeah. Girl looks like Harry Potter. The bar is low. That's why people start saying I'm not a millennial, because I've never watched Dragon Ball Z or Harry Potter. In fairness, I did see 15 seconds of one of the Harry Potters. There was a character called Dobby. And I know that because my one dog apparently looks like him. And I'm like, oh yeah, it kind of does. Pork rind. So here's the thing. Women change their minds, especially having children. The women will be saved by bearing children. That's 1 Tim 2:15. I don't remember there being a Tim chapter in the Bible. So you guys will have to fill me in on what the hell that's referencing. Is Tim like an old Hebrew name? Rescuing her means rescuing yourself. No quest, no hero. Right there, fellas. We've reduced the human condition to an episode of King's Quest 3 for the PC Tandy 486. Tim comes after Chad. The Book of Timothy. Is this an emergency podcast? Or they're all emergencies, Pat Stedman. They're all... New Testament. Oh, there is a Timothy. That's weird. Timminess is close to godliness. I don't know. I gotta... You know what? One sec. I got to. I don't... It's been a long time since I've read the Bible. And I do not remember a book of Timothy. Okay, it's one of the 3 letters in the New Testament of the Bible, often grouped together as the pastoral epistles, along with the 2nd Timothy and Titus. Did I miss that section? Fair enough. Must be one of them weird versions of the Bible. I don't know. My family was like Southern Baptist, so it must not have been in our version. Anywho, so they need your help. So they're brainwashed. Dude, this is like an episode of this is the premise to an episode of the A-Team. The women were brainwashed by feminism. They're mistrustful, but you can't mistrust all of them. Young women need your help. Feminism brainwashed them. Men led them to it. Men can lead them out. They can change their minds. And if you know how to find them, you can hire the A-Team. Okay, so yeah, 2 letters to Timothy. But again, this isn't really a persuasive argument. It's leading to a categorical imperative. Now look, I don't care if you're a Jesus fan or you're not a Jesus fan. It's not my place. Again, I told you, amorality. You can have the Bible if you want to. In fact, I might add that to the reading list at the end if we have time. It's the Why You're Lost. And it's probably one of the best meta articles or field reports or, I don't know, mental models, I guess, that the Red Pill has had. Nobody talks about it. I've talked about it a few times, but it'd be good. Would you be Hannibal or Face? Oh, I'd obviously be Face. Obviously. I'm not crazy enough to be Hannibal. And I'm not smart enough to smart enough to be Murdoch. And I'm not tough enough to be BA. But yeah, I would pick Face if I had a choice. Plus, I don't know how to fly. So what was he saying here? Oh yeah, feminism brainwashed them. All the makers are male, led them to it. Oh, we're on number 4. They changed their minds, especially after having children. Now, there's some truth in this, and this is the part that I hate about these things. is that it's not, if it was all just complete and utter bullshit, then I get, like, you can easily just be like, oh, whatever. But they pepper in little things like this. And yes, women change their minds. I think we've all seen Rollo's women's lifestyle chart. I can't remember what the title of the thing is, but it's where, like, at the age of 18 to 27, that's their hoe phase, and that's where they're searching for predominantly alpha traits. 27 to 32 is the, what did he call it? What was the baby raby phrase called again? It's something with an E. Epiphany phase. And then they try to settle down, and they're looking for primary beta traits. And then at 35 is called resurgence, where they have a rekindled interest in alpha traits, and that's usually when the divorces happen, stuff like that. Yeah, same issue with. Exactly. Rule Zero Dad actually had a great quote on this. He goes, the woman you date isn't the same woman you marry, and it's not the same woman that has the kids. If you're lucky, you like all three of them. And it's true. Hormonally, they're changing. The one thing Roosh did put in his that was kind of useful was that when a woman has kids, it's the first time in her life that she cares about something more than herself, which, you know, fair enough. Anyways, rescuing her means rescuing yourself. This is the part that kind of scares me, because think about what this implies. Saving her saves you. This is literally what the Emily chick that I put on before about how this is brainwashing men who may not have a lot of experience with women, like that part. Rescuing yourself. This implies that the guy he's trying to reach with this is a guy who needs saving, a guy who considers himself defective, a guy who's got a malaise. He's very, you know, there's nothing about my life I like. I just want to fix things. And he's throwing him the lifeline like, dude, if you rescue a girl from her thoughterry, then she'll reward you forever and you'll have a problem-free, godly life. He's essentially offering the guys a brand new covert contract. And if you don't know, we have enough covert contracts. We don't need new ones. If you don't know, covert contract is one of the best red-pilled mental models out there. It's from Dr. Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy. And the narrative structure of it, a mental model is a narrative structure you anchor decisions onto. In the case of a covert contract, it's that I'll do something with the expectation that you do this in return, but we don't speak of it. Like, you should just know. If I buy you flowers, then you have to go down on me. If I take you out to dinner, then, oh, you must sleep with me that night. Like, that kind of stuff, right? And I know nobody's like, I'm not entitled to sex. It's just what the day. Yeah, but this happens everywhere. I could make a whole episode on it. In fact, I probably will one day. Here's the problem, though. The other person, if they know it's a covert contract, it comes across as you being overtly manipulative, which is always creepy. Women are very subtle creatures, but they pick up on this stuff because they are masters of manipulation. So one of two things happens. One, they don't know what you want, and so whatever they do isn't in your best interest anyway. Or they do know what you want, they're creeped out by the manipulation, and they actively sabotage a thing in a way to make them absolve them of responsibility. Then what happens? Because they didn't fulfill their end of the bargain, you build a cycle of, you get resentful. That resentment comes out in your behavior. Your behavior makes you less attractive. And then to defend against that, most guys will double down. Add another covert contract on top of it. She rejects that one. You get resentment built up. And then it just keeps repeating until she basically sleeps with your brother at your friend's wedding. So yeah, there's your hero's quest. Do you want that? Is that what you want? I don't. Unspoken desperation. Absolutely. So only court women who love God and hate divorce, abortion, same-sex marriage. That'll solve a lot of problems. And right there, I'm like, oh. Like, I thought the fornication, I'm like, that sounds a little Rooshy. But right there. So the reason I'm bringing up Roosh so much is because Roosh, around 2013, 2014, somewhere around there, he decided that the red pill was dead, and I'm making my own thing, and it's going to be better. It's my own red pill with blackjack and hookers. And he called it neo-masculinity. New masculinity. Neo-masculinity. What was neo-masculinity, you ask? Funny you should ask. Neo-masculinity was the red pill, except for no gays allowed. And I was like, Jesus, dude, what are you doing? You can't just say that. You can't vilify people like that. First off, great source of information. There has been some great field reports and great mental models from gay dudes in the community for a couple reasons. One, gay guys don't have any thirst for women. They just don't. So when women do things, it's transparently obvious to them. So they, oh yeah, I'm watching my friend do this to this guy, watch her try to hit on me, and I thought it was cute. Think of it like a fat girl hitting on you, but like times 10. And so they are very, very good at and very observant to this stuff. Secondly, and most importantly, a lot of you guys need some help with your style of dress. I'm just saying. Anyway, so her not liking that, I have a feeling they're kind of hinting that, like, you know, her gay best friends will sneak her into those gay parties and get the monkeypox. And it's like, all right, whatever. Most girls just like having a sassy gay friend because it's, like, in vogue. But the divorce and abortion kind of matter more. Look, every girl say they hate divorce. Every girl says they hate abortion. And they absolutely believe it, and I believe them. But there is this great field report that, again, nobody talks about, except for me. It's called Schrodinger's AWOLT. All women aren't like that. Or NAWOLT. Not all women are like that. No one is like that until they are. No woman likes divorce until she does. No woman likes having an abortion until she does. It's just the nature of it. It's all in the moment. Remember the Ryan's rule? Anything she says, just attack on right now at the end of it? Exactly. How many stories have you seen where literal pro-life advocates, as soon as like their daughter gets pregnant, straight to the clinic. And it's easy to go, oh, they're just hypocrites. Giant hypocrites. It's that they're not hypocrites. They absolutely 100% believed in the pro-life argument. 100%. Believed it like a zealot. But, well, it's different when it happened to me. There's all these extenuating circumstances. It's not my fault. This is the only way to do it. And I feel very bad about it. And there's guilt in there and whatever. It manifests as like whatever. Humans are humans. When you start putting us as above people, that's when we start doing stupid things and pretending like we're not. And then divorce. Yeah, same thing. Nobody believes in divorce until they don't like the guy they're with. Then he's abusive and they have to. It's not my fault. He was abusive. I was trying to stick it out. Dude, I even said we should go to marriage counseling. We tried everything. Marriage counseling is like the soft next. That's her way of saying, I need a reason to say I've tried everything I did so I look good in front of my God. Every guy, everyone's divorced. Dude, there is a very popular Mormon style guy. Perfect family, perfect children. Even he's divorced. In the Mormon church of all places. It happens. You cannot stop it. You cannot stop it. But again, and I think this is the part that he misses out on here, I'm not saying that I hate everything he's saying and I disagree with it. What I'm saying is that I refuse to live in a fantasy world even if it appeals to any of my sensibilities. And I think this is where a lot of guys get it wrong too. Like, do they really think that most red pill guys love, oh, I love that chicks are getting railed by 100 dudes on Twitter. I love that divorce is so easy and that any second she can take half my shit. I love this world. Do you think they wouldn't automatically, like if the good sexual strategy turned up where all of a sudden, hey, it turns out if you work in a factory for 20 years, you have a stay-at-home wife, she will stay there and blow you all day and you'll have a great life. Dude, red pill people would switch in a heartbeat. It's not that we don't want certain traditional things. It's that it's gone and it's not coming back. And so you need to adapt to it. Your sensibilities don't give a shit. Who sounded like Jaden Smith? Ask me how I know. I have 2 gay designers, great guys, Patrice Fitzgerald and Gerald Fitzpatrick. That real? That's funny. They're a little expensive though. Last time I heard them, they charged me up the... Hey, I see what you did there. Chastity is more important than looks. Modesty and decorum matter. The whoredom of a woman be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. Isn't that one like I can never pronounce him right. Ecopatles or whatever? That's Old Testament, isn't it? It's been a while. I thought that was Will Smith's kid, the Jaden Smith, wasn't it? So here, is chastity more important than looks? Let me ask you guys this. Here's the thought experiment to walk this one through. Let's say you got 2 women in front of you. One, gorgeous. Or should I say 3 women? 3 women. First one, gorgeous. 10 out of 10 by all objective metrics. She's thin, she's pleasant, whatever. Second woman, she's mid. She's pleasant, she's attractive, but not like unattainably attractive, like she's attainable. Third one, fat chick, virgin. Which one are you marrying? Which one are you marrying, sir? The whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. You know what that is? And this is how stupid that is. They assume whores wear the whore uniform. They don't. They don't. This completely invalidates the experience of cock teases. And I feel like as a marginalized group, you need to give them their proper respect. Dude, if some chick gobbles down dicks like it's nobody's business, do you really think they're going to wear a giant A on their t-shirts? Probably not. Do you know who does that? Girls who want attention. And I think I really do need to make an entire series just on the idea of a tease, because I think a lot of guys are pointing out all these teases going, oh, everybody's a whore now. And it's like, no. You can just, I don't know. It's one of those things. I wish I could articulate it, but once you've been around enough of them, you can kind of spot it. It's kind of like an 8-year-old wearing her mom's wedding dress. Like all the parts are there, but it's just off to you. So yeah, most of these girls aren't whores. They're just attention whores, which is totally, I think it's worse, to be fair. But hey, whatever. It's not my place to judge. I would say some of the best times I ever had with a girl were ones where she was just quiet, normal, dressed modestly, you know, jacket, shirt, pants, nothing fancy. But they were probably the most fun ones and the easiest ones to get into bed. So, the ones that I saw dressed up like complete hookers, they were always just a pain in the ass. JD, £2 super chat. Lace chokers are still my favorite piece of signaling. Yeah. Oh, you guys may not know this. So, the chokers, there used to be like a thing. It's been a while, so I remember it was like they love blowies or they love BDSM. It was one or the other. But anyways, then everybody kind of wear it. It's like, look, I'm not a whore, but I'm wearing a uniform, and then whatever. I think the only one they have now that still is legit is there's like a locked necklace that chicks have. And for their dom, they give him the key. And then the idea is unless she can give a guy the key, she's not allowed to stray or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, it's all signaling. So when they talk about like wearing her haughty looks and on her eyelids and stuff like that, it's like, it's all about social signaling. And unfortunately, you start using medieval, agricultural, Bronze Age social signaling rules. Like, oh, she's braided her hair. That means she's a hooker. It's like, no, she braided her hair. That means she just went to vacation in Jamaica. And she thought it'd be cool to be the one white girl with cornrows. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. The main character from Yu-Gi-Oh! Wears a oh, Jesus. Yeah, it's true. Kinks wear collars. Yeah. And number 7, what do we got here? If she's a 10, but she's quarrelsome, like, why does he have to use a thesaurus for all of this? Why can't he just call her argumentative? Like, nobody says quarrelsome anymore. The only reason I know what that means is because I've read Lord of the Rings too many goddamn times. Lazy, greedy, angry, selfish. She's not a 10. Move on. Okay. I get this one. I guarantee you he's some kind of life coach or something. But I remember when I used to do consults still, there was this one guy who called and he's like, yeah, I've got a girl and I know you guys say there's no 10s, but I swear this one's a 10. I'm like, all right, tell me about her. She's like 25. She's got a kid, covered in tattoos. She used to do a lot of drugs and she rents a place. And I'm like, all right, so a 10. In other words, she's interested in you. So this here, yeah, she's not 10, move on. Like, that's the one thing he said on there that I kind of get. He doesn't need the categorical list, but whatever. He's basically saying your ego's an asshole and you shouldn't listen to him. What else do we got here? Oh, number 8. This is actually new territory. I haven't read any of this stuff, so we're going to do this together. Watch how she treats her family, especially her father. Does she ever speak badly of him? If no, that's a warning sign. Or if so, that's a warning sign. She doesn't respect his authority. She won't respect yours. Everybody always thinks, and this is the part that gets me, is that women don't change. And you are powerless. You have to vet. You have to find a woman that comes pre-packaged, perfect Stepford wife out of the box. There's no chance that you have to establish boundaries. There's no chance that she'll follow it if you do. Women are all whores and harlots and evil, vindictive, Machiavellian, and you can't tell them what to do. So you got to find a woman that's already, you know, beaten into submission, and then you get her. It's like picking up a slave from the thing. It's like, dude, you would be surprised. Some of you guys here are older. Do you remember that promiscuous friend you had when you were out in your party phase and they were in their party phase, and she was so much fun. You know, it was just platonic, but she'd always bring guys home and you'd make fun of her the next day. And then she turns like 27 one day and she decides that, you know what, I want a family. So she settles down, gets a boyfriend, removes all of her Facebook photos, defriends everybody, completely changes her behavior. And a lot of guys think, oh, she's just lying. She's just hiding everything. It's like, yeah, she is, but that's because she doesn't feel like that anymore. So this whole like daddy issue thing, now there's some truth to this, which I'll get into in a minute, but if you're with a girl and she's really into you, she'll calm the fuck down. Like I use my baby sister as a great example. She was a horse girl. Absolutely brutal to men. I remember seeing her, she was at her high school grad, we showed up, and she called her grad partner fucking a British cigarette. Just the biggest like homophobic slur ever. Right in front of all of his friends and family. And I was like, holy jeez. If some girl had done that to me on my grad night, I'd have punched her in the mouth. And to be fair, it probably would have gotten some respect from her. But yeah, she just browbeat him. And I guess when she was dating, she used to browbeat those guys. My older sister was the same way too, right? She was the 80s chick with the Trans Am with the T-top, or a Firebird or whatever. She had the nicest car, nicer than the guys. And so every time she dated some dude, the guy was tough redneck a minute ago. And then by the time they break up, as soon as he cries, she's like, I'm done with this one. She was just a man-eater who was crazy. But back to the story of my baby sister. So she met this nice guy, works for the railroads. And I guess he's the first guy in her life that told her to shut the fuck up. Shut up. Just told her to shut it down. And they're still together. She works hard. They bought a house together. She's filled it with animals, but whatever. They're happy. They're together. She's definitely a handful, but yeah, he's got his stuff on lock, and yeah. And I'll tell you right now, none of my sisters respect their fathers, and they all speak badly about him. And in fairness, they're not wrong. So I don't know what he's talking about. Like my life is literally the opposite of this. I don't know what to tell you. It's one data point. You can attach it to yours and see what happens. So if she wants to spend her 20s on a career, move on. Her priorities are wrong. Her family deserves her in her prime. Youth means fertility, energy, and adaptability. He's just reframing saving the best and had to make it like the least attractive thing ever. Like, I get it. Nobody wants to pay full price for used goods. It's not because they think, like, oh, after the 15th dick, it ruins her. It's like, it's not that. It's a girl will experiment and try all kinds of things in her 20s, which is fine. You can do what you do. What guys don't want to do is end up getting with her now that she's less attractive than she used to be, now that the baby rabies is there and you're on a rush to get your life started. And then all of a sudden she's not like that anymore. That's what guys don't like. I don't like how this guy, like all the other guys in your life, just got it given away to them. They not only got better, and this is going to be an Archwinger post for later, not even better sex from you, but better emotional connection too. Meanwhile, I bust my ass to, remember what he said earlier, that whole you can save her shit? I saved her, and in return, she only offers me duty sex once a month. Yeah, a guy will build up a big bottle of resentment for it, and that is the primary reason I'm sitting here telling you about this shit. It's like, look, you cannot go into this with the glassed over eyes. You need to have your eyes open. You need to have your head on a swivel. You have to understand. Assume. Don't know, guess? No, assume. When you meet a girl, her notch count is twice yours. Easily. She won't tell you. She'll lie about it. She'll trick or truth about it. You're never going to know. So you just accept. She's had more dicks than I ever will. And so what do you do about it? Well, are you pretty insecure or angry about it or resentful? Well, why are you resentful? And then you walk through. And most of the time, if you're being honest with yourself, the two reasons guys don't like girls with high notch counts is, one, their notch count doesn't measure up to it, so they feel like they missed out while she got to have the fun, and then they both have to do the sacrifice together for the family. And, wait, what was that first one? Oh yeah, and then two, the second reason that guys hate girls with big notch counts is for the reason that they think before. Well, all of those guys There's one guy in there that she probably still is in love with and dumped her, so she's never going to love me. And that's like a lack of confidence in your own ability to attract a woman and keep a woman and have a desire about a woman and to be a man or whatever you want to word it as. But you see that, though? Where there is a genuine male insecurity that needs addressing, you end up turning it into, well, she's a whore. It's not my fault. It's like, no. It's nobody's fault. But it's your job to fix it. If the fact that it takes her with a 20 notch count to understand that fact, then so be it. But you just got to accept. And then once you deal with those underlying issues, this concern goes away. And this is why I know on Allie's channel, it was like the most hate she got out of anything was me telling the notch count doesn't matter speech. A lot of dudes who weren't getting laid very much just rambling in the chat, so pissed off. And I'm like, yeah, see? Those guys have those same insecurities. And I'm not doing it to shame them into shutting up about it. I'm telling you this so that way you can honestly address them. That's the point. That's the whole purpose of the red pill. All this stuff that makes you suboptimal as a man in whatever way you envision it, address it. Stop dealing with the secondary issues you use to hide from it. It's like, no, we don't hide from things. These are brutal. These are honest talks. So she wants to spend her 20s on her career. Like, women work. 40% of relationships, in fact, have women as the primary breadwinner. 40%. Think about that. So you may like it if a girl was focused on finding a husband and not a career. That's great. But the reality is, half of them don't. And it's trending further, not closer to what you want. Again, adapt and overcome. And here's the greatest thing. Praxeology of the Dominant Male, a great Ian Ironwood post from 2013. 10 years ago. Pair bonding. Don't get me started on that, Confucius. Also, JD, thank you for the £5 super chat. Horse girls, especially in the UK, are some of the sweetest honeypots in the world. But dear sweet Christ, you'll get where they're given their category. Yeah. It's just something about a girl who tames a 2,000-pound beast and breaks his spirit. I can see why they get the reputation, but it's funny. Like, I was raised around horse girls all my life, and so I'm kind of used to their shit. It's honestly the closest American equivalent you guys can think of is ratchet hoes. You know how ratchet chicks are very demanding in that, and then they find a nice white boy and they settle down. It's kind of like that. Just basically, they really do shit test you hard. So her priorities are wrong. Are they wrong? Like, they're wrong for what you want, but they're not wrong for reality. What's a chick going to do? Live with her parents until she's 30? No, she has to want something out of her life. And you wouldn't believe how many women have issues where they watch their stay-at-home mom and they hate that even though their father loved them more than her and treats her well and does all this stuff, they want nothing more in life than to never end up in a situation like their mom where they have to be beholden to a man. And so a lot of this is their own deep-seated issues. But again, it all goes away. Hypergamous best option wins out in the end. If she loves you, she will crawl through broken glass for you. She would rather share you than be saddled with some other dude who's right for her. You know what I mean? Her family deserves her in her prime. I love how he says this too. Like, her children deserve her when she's 23 and hotter. It's like, look, man, if you don't want her when she's 27, don't get her when she's 27. If you want younger girls that are hotter, go date younger girls. I just don't see the need to vilify a group of people just because they aren't living life in a way that accommodates my wants and desires. But that's just me. Maybe that's the liberalism thing where you kind of like a live, let live attitude. And they're like, that's the problem with the world. You need to burn these witches at the stake. I'm like, all right, fair enough. Number 10. Number 10 will surprise you. A divorcee will compare you to her former husband. It's easy to idealize absent people. You will suffer by comparison. She'll also find it easier to divorce you. Well, in fairness, out of second marriages, like 75% of them divorce. So, yeah, if you're marrying a divorcee, chances are it's temporary. But all things are temporary. Also, the divorcee comparing you to her former husband. I'm going to let you guys in a little secret. You would be amazed. I've got full-on experience with it. Not experience with it, but friends and family have experience with it. Hell, my Patreon community. We've got guys going through this. And they find, like, their wife is naggy and angry and bitchy and their sex life is dead and their bedroom is dead. And so they do their thing and they decide, you know what, I'm out of here. I can replace her with somebody nicer and hotter and sweeter. And they do. And then their wife comes back to be a plate. A fucking plate. And I always love these field reports. It's like, dude, we were married for 10 years. She stopped having sex with me for like 2 at the end. Then as soon as I divorce and she's spent all of the divorce money, all of a sudden now she comes over just to like blow me and leave. I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, what is this? And it's like a mind fuck for guys to plate their ex-wife. It's also a litmus test on if you're over it or not. Like if you're truly over one-itis, you'll see things like a guy will plate his ex-wife, but it'll be like, yeah, and this keeps her, this way she's not constantly going to court fighting for custody and that because we're in a good place. Great. Basically, it's almost like a male prostitution thing. Sleep with her to keep her calm. Sometimes it's like, oh, just on dry spells, I can give her a call. And it's usually when the girls have boyfriends, too. Divorced chicks sleep with their ex-husbands a lot of the time while they're monogamous with another dude. Cannot make this shit up. I don't know how to explain it. I don't have a pithy mental model or a field report to it. I just observe and report. I just work here, man. So I guess in that way she will compare you to her former husband. But again, it's just, why are you devoting yourself to this kind of situation? Low key. You don't need to be hardcore about it. You don't. You don't need to try and save the West. You don't need to have one-itis for her. In fact, again, it's like that assume her notch count is twice yours. Just assume the worst. And if it's not the worst and she is better, A, it's a bonus. And B, she will give you signals. But your ego is not going to hide those signals from you because you're already assuming the worst. Number 11, avoid women with children from a former marriage. They won't respect you as their father. They will undermine your authority in the home. He kind of stole this from Rollo, and yes, he's right. But again, you trying to be the dad of somebody else's kids? Probably not. Just the stepdad. And if they start giving you, they come into your house, they live in your house, and they give "you're not my real dad" speech, well then, like the lesson from that is don't bring this brand new family into your home if they don't respect you as the guy who runs the home, not even as the father. If you're older, by the way, this is kind of where this comes up. A lot of older guys, if you're like 50, you're dating 30-year-olds, it's very hard to find one past like the age of 27 that doesn't have a kid. So it's kind of one of those things that, yeah, it's not ideal, but if you're dating, unless you're only dating 23-year-olds, you're gonna find a lot of divorced chicks with kids. Of course, most of the guys also have kids, so it's more of like a logistics issue at that point, but it kind of gives you, and this is where I can tell this is made for single guys who speak in the abstract. It's because they don't know what it's like to be the divorced guy with kids. Like, dude, a lot of guys, Nick in the chat, divorced guy with kids. Like, he knows this deal here. You just kind of walk in, again, your head on a swivel, you have a sense about you, you know what's going on, you understand the dynamic, act accordingly. Don't allow them places in your life if they don't respect the boundaries. That's all it is. It's just boundary enforcement. Marriages with big differences here often fail. Age, social status, and wealth. Also extended family. First off, age is a bullshit one. It's not the case. Marriages that fail, well, most marriages fail. So let's just get that out of the way. Of the ones that succeed, they say it's a 5 to 10 year age gap. 5 to 10 year age gap. Maybe that's not a big difference. Maybe we're talking 20-year difference, but the ones that fail the most are the ones with like same age, 2 years, or the girl being older. In fact, the guy being older is pretty much the best thing when it comes to age. Social status. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I'm not even sure how to take that one. Wealth. If you date a broke chick and you're worth a lot of money, maybe. But again, this stuff, like, whatever your social status is, it's there. You already have it. So you can't change it. You can't change hers. But it's always looking to these external signals instead of just focusing on what's right in front of you. Like, dude, boundaries, this is why they're superior to this vetting shit. You're with a girl. If you lay down a boundary, does she respect the boundary? Does she adhere to it? Yes or no? If she does, it's great. That means she's into you, she's invested, and then not making you unhappy makes her happy. But if you look to her going, well, according to her T4, she's making about as much as I am, so this should work. Disrespects your boundaries, but as a narcissist would, you're focused on these archetypes. She's got the right age, she's got the right social status, she's got the right amount of money. Perfect. Everything else about her, you're going to hand wave away because she fits the archetype of your narrative, of your narcissistic fantasy. And that's how you get a lot of these weird, like, you ever watch those couples where you can tell, like, they're just not there? Like, reality-wise, they're doing a weird shit. They seem like they're in love, they're doing all the signs, but it just seems off. Like, that's shit like this. Oh, Jesus. I didn't know he was going there, but alright, I guess we're going there. Number 13, some races mix for marriage more easily than others. Oh, I'm not touching this. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. The races need to data mix themselves. I'm like, if that's the hill you want to die on, go for it. Go for it. Having said that, I kind of dude, you know when everybody's like, oh, these are dog whistles, the Trump dog whistles, and you're always like, dude, that's bullshit. This one's, I think, are actually a dog whistle. Like those dog whistle villains. Some races. I wonder which ones he's referring to here. The melon in me is rather offended right now. Rather offended. Yeah, come on, touch it. Yeah, dude, look at me. Does it look like I give a shit about the race card? Yeah, don't worry about it. It's the one advantage of being one of the mud people. I can fit in with anything. And I'm like flat out an example of why who cares. What do we got here? It's easy to fall in love with the wrong woman. Again, there is no one. I'm not going to read Rolo stuff. Don't put yourself in situations that'll make this likely. Above all else, guard your heart, wellspring of life. That's just endless platitudes and pablum. Like, I already explained a lot of this stuff earlier, but he's just ignoring his own stuff up above. Jesus. He's really struggling, this list. At the end, you can tell he's just like, just throw some way of the competent man in there. Yeah, even if he was towing the race line, his arguments fall flat. Yeah, I mean, at this point, the race thing is just something to make fun of. But I don't want to... That's the other thing, too. So a lot of times on these kind of, like, dunks, the guy just points at and sputters at the other person's stuff. A lot of people do that to us, where it's like, look at this idiot with the race card stuff. I try to give it at least, like... take the argument somewhat seriously, even if I think this guy's a stupid dope. The most suitable women... might not be the most beautiful. She could be. Jacob chose Rachel for her beauty in preference to Leah. Oh, Genesis. I thought he was doing Twilight or Friends. I'm like, Ross could have been with Rachel, but he chose the other one. Fuck, whatever. There's nothing wrong with beauty, but in the masculine man knows looks can mislead. What the fuck is he saying? Maybe that was my thing before when I said, would you marry the fat girl that was the virgin? I think that's his way of saying, dude, dive on that grenade, she'll appreciate you. Maybe he's trying to tell you it's all pink. Alright, so any woman meeting your high standards will have high standards herself. What can you do? Stay strong, stay lean, stay clean. She'll look at your shoes, master one skill, be a carpenter, and competent in all the other skills. Everything else, be competent. Be competent in everything, everywhere, all at once. Dude, this is like the weirdest listicle of like, this was like this best that he can come to practical things. Now, yeah, be strong, lean, and clean. I'm assuming he means like shave, be in shape, and, you know, don't be weak. Fine. Looking good never hurts. She'll look at your shoes. Yeah, I was going to marry him and give him 8 kids, but look at, he's wearing loafers. Style-wise, yes, people look at your shoes. Shoes are one of those neat things you can take like the most mundane, boring, drab outfit ever. A nice pair of shoes can really make it shine. I get that. But again, just because he throws one nod to shoes, which is the most basic bitch self-improvement thing you can do. Master a practical skill, carpentry. Again, dude, you can make a new set of cabinets? Well, drop those pants and sit down, sir. Let me get my scrunchie out. Be competent in everything else. All you have to do is be perfect, man. This is build a better mousetrap bullshit. Build a better mousetrap. If you do everything perfectly, then she'll love you forever and you'll have a problem-free life. It's like, look, nobody's saying you don't want to, like, if you ask a lot from people, they're going to expect a lot, and expectations and value in the SMB. Everybody knows that, but he takes what's otherwise good, ideas and he just ruins it. Like, he literally makes things worse. And that's the worst part, is that he didn't have to lie to do it. You don't want a wife who will shrug it off if she catches you watching porn. Submit to you even if you don't deserve it. Let you get soft and lazy. You want one to make a man out of you. Oh yeah, you want her to fix you. You want her to be unconditional love. First off, the porn is cheating thing. You wouldn't believe how many dudes have to say they have a... I was talking with Dr. David Lay on the episode of this. Did you see the one where he was talking about porn addiction? And I agree, it doesn't exist. It's just guys who get caught and they have to come up with a disease so that way they can say it's not their fault. It's men raised as defective women bullshit. But the whole reason there's this semen retention industry and this whole like porn addiction industry is because the frigid evangelical fundamentalist wife doesn't sleep with her husband. Her husband doesn't want to cheat because Jesus said no. And so what does he do? He watches porn. And it's usually like weird scat porn and stuff too, because, you know, nobody ever has vanilla tastes. They always have to go crazy when they're not getting any. And then she catches him on it. And like, this is actually cheating. Like, I didn't sleep with you. Like, she basically wants control of his libido to the point that if he ever does a transgression, he has to go to a clinic to deal with it as if it's a crack addiction. Alexa, play Fix You by Coldplay. Submit to you even if you don't deserve it. Again, deserve ain't got nothing to do with it, man. Deserve ain't got nothing to do with it. If you want to... And submit. By the way, when I say submit, a lot of people hear this weird where they think it means that she has to basically become your slaves. Like, no. Easy way to think of this is in the concept of like subcommunication or power games. I have a great article on it. Think of all human interaction on a two-axis chart. Harmony and status. On the x-axis, it's harmony. Are we on the same team or are we adversarial? On the other axis, the y-axis, you have status. Do I consider myself lower status? Do I consider myself higher status? So when you say submit, that's somebody whose interactions, the subtext of their interactions forms the quadrant of lower status and higher harmony. So I'm on the same team, but I'm deferring to you. And that comes out in submission. So when you think of like how somebody talks to you, when a girl's all extra sweet, when she fluffs you up, those are like generally submissive behaviors, right? As a guy, you want to act higher status than that, so it tends to be like condescending. But I don't mean that in a pejorative. I mean it just playfully, right? Oh yeah, the old lady, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, just cocky funny is a great example of that. So yeah, that's what you want for submission. But then even if you don't deserve it, don't worry. Deserve ain't has nothing to do with it. These things are a nice little dance. And when people talk about game being a game, this is what they're talking about. So if you start acting like you're higher status, but against them, it tends to be contempt. That's where a lot of this, like, women are all whores shit comes from. The guy thinks he's the most amazing gift, but he's totally against somebody. Then naturally speaking, you're going to get one of a few interactions. A girl will think, actually, I'm higher status and screw you. And that's where you get the angry feminist talking. And that's where you have two people in the low harmony, high status competition. And then it becomes a competition. It's what they say is a non-stable engagement. At some point, somebody has to move. Either one person just like, you know, lays off and adds some harmony. At some point, either somebody considers themselves lower status and then the contempt turns into insolence. Usually the guy, by the way. Let's face it, most of the time it's the guy who ends up going full incel on them in the chats. Roosh, great example, is Brittany Venti argument he had on Andy Worski back in the day. He eventually switches to contempt, and that's his way of admitting that, you know, the young thought was better status than him. But, like, why would you do that, though? You're basically setting everything up for failure. Instead, you act like that's where your cocky funny comes in. On the same team, always above you in status. Some people will act, you know, adversarial, but that's fine. Like, you just disengage then because they've already shown you, I'm not interested in you. I'm not on your team. Why are you wasting your time with somebody who's not on your team? I'm not. And then if somebody is on your team, they can try the high status thing too. But again, that's a non-stable thing. That's where shit tests come in. A shit test is two people each having the subtext of a high harmony, higher status engagement. She passes that as the shit test. She wants to fail. She loves seeing a guy who's top tier. You pass that by your cocky funny or just like not letting it phase you, agree and amplify, amuse mastery, you have a stronger frame, all the different valuable things. And then they happily go slightly lower status, submit to your things, everything moves on. It's a great situation. It's a wonderful thing. Everybody wins. Or you can just do what this idiot's saying, which I don't think you want to. So that is... Where did I put it? We're going to get rid of that. So I think that's about enough of that. Hey, we got Jack in the chat. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, Jack, throw some links in the chat. Don't you have a... I heard a rumor that you have a spot open for your coaching. If you have to tell somebody to submit, you probably have no control in the situation. Oh, yeah, that's it. Again, if somebody doesn't want to submit, they're not going to submit. If they wanted to submit, they already would. So if you have to mention something, that's already admitting that you didn't. Andy Worski is boxing night. Is he really? What the hell is this? Excuse me. Why am I swear? Oh, dear. This guy's been going off in the chat for a few days, and like Nick and Rob and all the T-Rex army have been just shitting on him. What's his new ones? Do you approve of fornication and conception? What is about the sexual revolution? I like Nick's, though. It's like, what have you accomplished in your life? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, jeez, this guy's killing me. All right, so I think we're done with him. Nolan knows. What a fucking knob. Let's get back to... I feel bad because like there's a lot of like Red Hawk's in the chat, Allie's in the chat, like the TradCon people. I don't mind them, like they're nice people, but like these ones are just idiots. Oh, he's gonna fight KSI. Look at him go. Let's start doing some more ads.
And go Ryan Stone. I think he's the most important guy in the world. Ryan Stone. Give a about Ryan Stone. Me and him have gone back and forth. Blah blah. Yeah. Ryan Stone does not pass the 6-foot test. He's not even a man. So I don't give a Ryan Stone.
Dude, Neil Strauss is pissed at me. Oh, he's not fighting KSI. He's fighting on the KSI fight card. Oh, that's good. Manosphere matches. Dude, if somebody were to actually follow through on a boxing match here, it'd be funny. Fun fact, it's off topic. Doesn't have anything to do with anything. But I keep hearing this thing. I guess Twitch has some drama with this trans person named Keffels or whatever. And she's pissed off at this site called Kiwi Farms. I'm like, Kiwi Farms? Isn't that the guys that make like cottage cheese or whatever? And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to go look it up. And I find out it's basically 4chan. It's a 4chan forum. I'm like, oh, okay. And there's this section where they make fun of YouTube lolcows. And I'm like, let's see who I recognize. And I was like, holy shit. They had Girl Writes What? They had Coach Red Pill. They had Myron and like Fresh and Fit. And I'm reading through and I was like impressed. These guys did their research. Like Coach Red Pill, I didn't know when he was doing economic stuff, he latched onto this economist, fixed his website for him, charged a $40 entrance fee, and like pocketed half his money. So he was like grifting off of like this economist for years. The guy still hates him. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that one. The Fresh and Fit, they were talking about the ABBA and Preach stuff. Bottle the goofiness, like, do you even lift, bro? And I was like, oh man, these guys are good. Having said that, I'm like, I probably won't go back there. It was pretty much a cesspool. Versus Andrew Tate. Oh, hush. Yeah, buff Neil Strauss. He just looks like it. The only thing he's missing is that 2000s look where you had like a t-shirt over top of your dress shirt. Anywho. I gotta pull up. So I was going to talk to you about those articles. The Archwinger things. There's 3 in here. I don't know. What do we have for time? I forgot to check that. One sec. Where is... Dude, where's my... There it is. 11... Oh, an hour. That makes more sense. Alright. So we got obsessing over her past. We have... Never confront her. No, we're not going to use that one. Treating women badly because they deserve it. Oh, he's got some good ones. They're always funny. I like his titles because they really... He hates what? And then you read it and it's like a very reasonable thing. You're like, oh. Yeah, if you think Tate's thing of being aggressive and then being reasonable inside is anything new, it's not. It's not. Cuddles and yapping are tools of dogs, not man. That's funny. Okay. So here's the one. One sec. Let me do the timings on this one. Terrified of failure. Women are terrified of failure. I love it. You guys want to know what you bring to the table? Well, I'm going to give you something you bring to the table. Where is... There it is. Women are terrified of failure. Use that. It's probably one of my favorites of his. You know, we live in a society, women are denied the important right that cripples them, the right to fail. What's this website? It's called Kiwi Farms. I'll warn you right now. Actually, you know, it's right up your alley. If you like 4chan, you'll like it. So yeah, women are predisposed to avoid risk. This biological advantage dates back to ancient times because women get pregnant and have babies. So dying in large numbers meant bad things for large populations of humans. That's why ancient women's cowered in the herd, learned to forage in groups, how to fit in, and start sleeping with and conquering the men that ran them in and killed all their current men in the tribe. Women survived by avoiding risk. You know? Women today, much the same as they were back then. Most women try very hard to fit in, to work with groups, to avoid conflict, confrontation. They avoid risk. Like, and it's a funny thing, because you read this too, and it's like, yeah, there's nothing to argue. It's almost like self-evident. Anybody who's had any experience with women knows this. And if you get some woman arguing, I'm full of risky behaviors, it's like, yeah. It's like that argument where they're like, I'm just as sexual as a guy. Of course, that's why the sex doll industry is just full of cocks. Like, come on. So this leads to women applying for subpar jobs, afraid to negotiate for salaries, ask for raises, ask for promotions, being petrified that the reason they don't succeed is fear and not the evil patriarchy. In fact, most of the time, patriarchy is just them projecting their own insecurity and risk-averse behavior onto men. Because again, with everything, solipsism reigns supreme. It's not my fault. Leads to women selecting college majors. Anyways, we're going to skip that part. It's just more reinforcement. This also leads to women sucking at work because when you ask a female employee to start doing something new and she doesn't know how to do it and she isn't good at it, she's going to bitch and complain. She's going to complain. It's not her job. If you want to see more on this, there's actually a great article from Ian Ironwood called The Swing Sets of Solipsism, where he brings up the differences in workplace environments between men and women this way and how solipsism affects things. It's pretty eye-opening. I mean, there's no misogyny in it, so it kind of sucks if you're in there to get pissed off, but it's really good to learn men and women differences, especially if you're working in an office environment, because you kind of need to know how women treat things versus men. It'll actually help you, and it's one of those reasons that it seems every guy, once they've been red-pilled, always ends up earning more money at work. Always. Turns out, getting all those stupid bitch-made behaviors out of your body, and you start acting like a guy, you stop doing all this risk-based behavior. Anyways, starts young, goes on through a woman's life. Archwinger's daughter, she's only 5 at the time. I guess she's like 13 now. She's already afraid to fail. My wife's in her 30s. She's even more afraid to fail. My mom's in her 60s, and she's petrified of failure. Yeah, we make our daughter do all kinds of stuff, even if she sucks at them. And unlike most of the other upper-middle-class suburbanite parents, we don't let our kids quit because it's hard, and they keep losing competitions. Just make her practice more, and she still loses, which is fine. She's 5. 5-year-olds are supposed to have problems scoring soccer goals, swimming pools, beating up kids. But you see his point here? Like, even though it's just like a rant about how women are risk-averse and they aren't really allowed to fail anymore, there's a practical thing to this. Let your kid fail. You have a daughter, let her fail. Give her things that she can't do, let her fail, and teach her it's okay. Don't coddle her. Don't have one-itis for the feminine imperative, you know? But the more we push her to try things and fail, the more she comes up with defense mechanisms to avoid it. Her latest gimmick is acting silly when she attempts something so that nobody thinks she's actually trying the hardest. That way, when she fails, she was just being silly, not actually failing. And I'm not sure if it's possible to train a woman to be okay with failure, but we're trying. I actually don't know how this ended up. I really don't. But, so that one here, where like she acts really silly, because like I wasn't actually trying. That's the high IQ shit. When I tell you guys to stop thinking of yourself as a smart guy and stop thinking your intelligence as an identity, that's what you do. I did it. Everybody did it. It has to have somebody like basically beat it out of you. Because if you're smart, things are supposed to be effortless. Things are supposed to be easy. And if they're not, well then you have 2 choices. One, you're going to say that identity I've picked was wrong and that some things require effort and I need to have a work ethic. Or you sabotage it going, well, I didn't really try. It's not my fault. If I hadn't done this, this, and this, then I would have succeeded. But, you know, I can't be bothered. And that's funny. Like it's been one of the things I'm noticing in the book that's come up so often is I keep saying men and women are different, and men are being raised to be defective women. And those two concepts peppered all the book, which is crazy. Right there. Okay, the one about his mom and the lying. Women are born, innate fear of failure. Women will undertake a task if she expects to be able to do it all well, makes kind of excuses to avoid doing a task where failure is possible. This is true everywhere. Nerdy girl hanging out with gamers won't play a game she isn't good at in front of you guys. She'll just watch. Girl who isn't already in shape won't go to the gym alone. A girl who can't sing won't do karaoke unless a whole group of friends go up there with her. Unless she has a group egging her on, at which point she'll act like the 5-year-old pretending she's just being silly and not actually trying. Yeah. And he's like, this is something you can use. Give tasks to women. Ask them to do things. But always make sure that the things you're asking are within their abilities. When she can complete a task easily, she won't give pushback when you ask, and she feels good about herself about being capable of something. When she grows accustomed to following them, nag her occasionally by asking things she can't do well, but they ought to be able to. When she can't cook and you hand her a knife and tell her to chop potatoes, you can tease her all the days. That's fine. Again, this comes up a lot of times in guys' marriages where they have expectations for the house. The kids need this, the wife needs to do this, dinner's this, all those logistics. And part of them building their boundaries and expectations is finding out what their wife is and is not capable of. It turns out a lot of wives aren't good enough. And I don't mean this as to make fun of them. I mean, just they're literally not good enough. He needs her to handle extracurriculars, but she can't handle extracurriculars. Hey, I'm doing a business. Do you want to handle the accounting? She can't handle the accounting. And it ends up being this weird thing where a guy keeps trying to be dominant in the house and tell his wife what to do. The wife can't meet those expectations, so she sabotages it, and the whole family suffers for it. Now, is that a problem with her or with him? Well, it's both. The girl in this case, terrified of failure and rejection, so they sabotage things because their ego, their solipsism is more important than the family unit, which is foreign as a concept to a guy. You try your best, right? Because, the family's at stake. But then as a guy, why did you put her in charge of that? And so you have this thing where you find what level of effort can you get out of this girl? And then once you find where that line is that good enough for you? A lot of guys find out, yeah, no, it's good. I mean, I can, whatever. But then a lot of guys, a surprisingly large amount of guys find that, you know what? She's really not worth it. Like if she was blowing me 3 days a week, sleep with me 5 days a week, taking the kids to daycare, that's fine. I could put up with her not being able to burn, burning water and all that other shit. But considering I'm getting a lot of effort that I have to put in just to sleep with this 35-year-old 5 out of 10 or whatever she is, there's no way I would put up with this stuff without these qualities in there. It's a great excerpt from The Human Sock Puppets Bitch Management Guide, which I would say is probably one of the best things to come out of the red pill proper. What is she doing outside of sex to cement her value in your life? And in that case, the guy actually objectively finds out what she does offer, and it's just not good enough. And there's not enough sex to make you want to fill in the gaps. Now, this is the hard part. This is that hard part for guys is you have to make hard decisions. And for a lot of guys, there's this guy, Wine Please knows who I'm talking about. Would you really want to be with a woman who has this type of mindset? Self-doubt is there for everyone to extent, but low confidence seems to be part of identity. It's the human condition. I don't think of it as in something she can will her way out of. Because I've been there when I was the smart guy. It's something you don't really think about. And, you can shed that. I'm not saying it's set in stone and that nobody can grow and nobody can learn. But you just realize everybody has their point where they aren't comfortable. And if you throw somebody into the deep end, if you throw a girl into the deep end of this stuff, you're going to get this behavior. So find out where that line of competence is. Play around with it. It's like you're saying, nag your chick. Give her something she can't do. But I mean, that's a leadership thing. But you kind of have to find that line. And you have to know what happens. If I step way over that line, put some woman in charge of something she has no business doing, no competence in doing, and she will automatically fail at it because she doesn't want to be seen as a bad person. I just know that was just in her nature to do that. And I put too much in there. Scale it back. I don't know. Oh, yeah, he gets into some of the game stuff. So he's talking more about dread here, like use a woman's fear of failure to make her feel inadequate, like she needs to prove herself to you. Get her accustomed to making excuses to you when she won't try something. This gets her used to feeling like she needs to justify herself to you. This is essentially dread. It's you're I don't want to say creating, but you're not hiding from like the anxiety that comes from things. And you're encouraging the girl to submit to you and be submissive in the ways that I talked to you about before. Now, you may not like these ones, you may disagree with them, but they're there and they are effective. So use them, don't use them, I don't care. And then the next part is, embrace failure as a guy. And to be fair, it is a wonderful thing. Like, you'd be surprised how hard it is to fail. I had a post on irrational confidence, which is hilarious. I won't post it because it's old and it's not written well. And I had a video in it reference of this dude who was trying to do like a dive off of a stepladder into a swimming pool, but he fucked up and he banged his head off the fence and he cracked his head off the cement in the ground. And it was in like the 90s, so he just had a video camera. So since he was unconscious, the video just kept playing and he's just laying there not moving. And at first it's hilarious because, man falls down, cracks his head. It's hilarious. And then after about a minute of laughing at it, you realize he's not getting up and then you're starting to worry again. And then for another minute, and then you realize, oh wait, somebody uploaded the video, so he survived. And then you start laughing again. And I think it was like 5 minutes until he eventually wakes up and turns off the camera. He knocked himself out for like 5 minutes. He survived. So like, you'll be fine. You'd be amazed how hard it is to fail. So long as you keep moving forward and you learn from your mistakes. Like, yeah, you'll have setbacks. Financially, it can suck. There's some guys who, like, after my divorce, had to live in my car. I was basically homeless. Some guys are like, I had to move to the Philippines because I can't afford the child custody payment, so I essentially became an expat. Yeah, I'm not saying things don't suck, but you'll always move on and you'll always do better, if you want. So taking calculated risks is kind of a thing about it. It's good. It's good to know.
Single moms. A horrible position that's not my problem.
You know what? I'm only going to do one more of these because I don't want to waste all your time just reading Reddit posts. I think that's kind of lame. What are we at here? 122. Obsessing over a slutty past is an indirect pedestal. Assume she's a slut, but don't obsess. I like this one. I saved this one because of that idiot before, the Roosh dude. About how he's talking about the whores and their notch counts. And I like how he's put it here, because it's basically pedestalizing women. The flip side of it. So there's recently a dude bitching on the Married Red Pill about his wife's sexual history. And no, it wasn't Zach. I know where you're going with that one, Winemore. He was a virgin when he met her, and to date, she is the only person he's ever had sex with. When asked, she told him she had 2 to 4 previous partners. Not sure why she answered with a range, especially when there's only 3 integers included in that range, all of which are small enough to be clearly easy enough to remember. But none of them are socially embarrassing. It's almost like she didn't want to tell him or was lying, but whatever. And they are. Every woman lies and says 3. So like most boys, the guy didn't understand the problem. He said he felt like he was missing out, which was true. He didn't feel that way, but he thought that the reason he was missing out was because he only had sex with his wife, while she had sex with a bunch of people before him. This was eating at him terribly, and he was wondering if it'd be best if he divorced his otherwise satisfactory wife to go have sex with other women. Again, this is why that whole, like, assume her notch is double yours, because, like, that's the core issue. His worry here is an insecurity. Obviously, the right answer is to forget about it. Like, he's married, he's 2 kids, and by his last report, his wife is a good wife, good mom. Don't think he'd be able to take it if he dumped her and started fucking other dudes, including the kids, and bringing them around, playing with the family, blah, blah, blah. Plus, her history wasn't really the issue anyway. The right questions are whether or not she's fucking him on the regular, whether or not she treats him with respect and deference, and whether or not she stands by his side and supports him. It's almost like the things that matter are what matters, not some stupid things. Hey, what's up, Torsh? It's also daddy, not dad. Come on now. Or I'll accept Poppy. So yeah, treat deference when not sensed by his side, family forward. All right, the fact that she had had sex with other guys previously, while he was too much of a loser to get any, doesn't really matter if she's decent at everything else in his life. But this guy's issue was interesting because he thought the problem was his lack of sexual appearance, or experience, or just an aversion to his wife's slutty past. Assuming her professed sexual history was underreported, which seems possible, like nobody says 2 to 4. Neither of these were his issue at all, though. The man's problem was much simpler. He had one-itis for his wife. He was not obsessing over all the women he didn't fuck. He was obsessing over all the men his wife did fuck. He had given her all of himself, while she was only giving him what was left after she had given herself to others. He didn't feel like he was missing out on other women. He felt like he was missing out on his wife. Thank you, madam. So instead of giving everything she used to be, he got what was left after her past, after he was consumed with the idea, the fantasy of his wife, the virgin, and how he should have gotten all of her, not just the remainder. Remember, that resonance? Nobody wants to pay full price for used goods. That's the thing. But it's like a weird, abstract fantasy, when he should just be focused on how well he's being treated now, as opposed to like what possibly could have happened. And I guarantee you, whatever fantasies he had about what's happening beforehand, he doesn't know. It's all guesswork, and it's just your own, not insecurities, but your own, worst case scenario. Your imagination will get the best of you. So it's not really discussed here, but this part of the reason is why men are so repulsed by sluts. When we invest in a woman, we want all of her, not just the parts she has left. We don't want to pay full price and give ourselves for half of a woman. And that's classic one-itis. Classic. He's right. Absolutely one-itis. In the case of this dude, he had the idea of his wife, the virgin, on a pedestal. She was his narcissistic fantasy, man. Covert contract. In reality, she's just another woman. She's not special. She's not unique. Easily replaceable. And just as likely as any other woman to lie, to cheat, to leave, to make shitty decisions, etc., because, as long as she has the right stimulus, the right time, the right place, the right lack of value with him, the right whatever. And in an indirect way, fucking lots of women before marrying his wife would have helped this guy out, but not why he thinks. It wouldn't have settled the score. They have even, as long as their notch counts are even, it's fine. What he was missing was the lessons that he should have learned from it. Sex isn't special. Women aren't different. They aren't special. Or they are different. They aren't special. That's the one. If he had fucked his way through a few dozen women, the fact that one woman was currently had a sexual history wouldn't bother him, because he'd understand that sex isn't special, women aren't special, it's whatever. He wouldn't realize that this woman used to be something pre-sex, because he would understand that even then, she was just a woman like any of the others, right? Worrying about whether this one is a slut is at its core a form of one-itis. Unless you're a child and just starting to notice girls or travel in some extremely religious circles, all the women you mate have some kind of sexual history. On a broader scale, all women have some kind of life history. And when you obsess over a girl's past, what you're really experiencing is a fear of loss, a fear of missing out, or possibly a fear of buyer's remorse. We worry that if we invest in a particular woman, that we won't be getting all of her, just what's left. Now, these aren't socially popular thoughts, so the blue pill world has spun a narrative to twist things a bit in the form of modern sex-positive ideology. In the blue pill world, sexual experience is natural, healthy, expected, and encouraged. It's regarded as essential rites of passage for every girl to fuck a bunch of dicks. Get it out of your system, blah, blah, blah. So since every human is the sum of their experiences, it stands to reason in this universe that a sexually experienced woman will know a lot of great sexual techniques, be confident in bed, know what she likes and doesn't like, and so on. And all of that sexually casual sex is regarded as a positive experience that will enrich a woman. And you already know, anybody here, there's a lot of women that I've dated in my time who are very sexually experienced and very disappointing performance-wise. So it's no guarantee of anything. Sex just means sex. It really doesn't mean anything. It's not a litmus test for anything. I don't care what your statistics say. I'm trusting my own damn eyes, not your stupid eggheads and their goddamn reports. Those are the same eggheads that told me COVID was deadly and monkeypox isn't spread by any sex. I could get it and I can get AIDS off a toilet seat. I'm like, I'm not listening to the eggheads. So the less extreme corners of the blue pill world are less sex positive, but still sex neutral. And since the vagina isn't physically used up by having sex, the sex neutral thing to do is just to ignore it. Still works. Nothing's used up. Sex hasn't negatively affected her, blah, blah, blah. In contrast, there's a red pill fixation on sexual promiscuity is a fairly sex negative ideology. The notion that sex diminishes a girl, and if you invest in a slut, you're investing in a used up, less valuable fraction of a woman. It's pretty sex negative. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with this mindset over the other two, because in many cases, previous sex can be negative. You know, battered wife syndrome, all that kind of stuff. So it's weird. I'm not going to read all of this. We're going to scroll down a little bit here and skip to the very end. But so he's articulating that sex doesn't ruin somebody. Sexual experience doesn't make them better. So in a way, sex negativity is one-itis for a woman. But at the same time, sex positivity is one-itis for a woman. Sex neutral treats it as a non-issue, which isn't true. And so that's where I love it, because like everybody's right, but everybody's also wrong. And this is kind of where the red pill came in, where they realized, yeah, so obsessing over a girl's slutty past is pedestalization. You know, obsessing over the fact that a girl's a virgin, it's pedestalization. It's all focused on the girl. It's a lack of frame. Does sex ruin women? No. Does not having sex ruin women? No. And yes, both of them are yes and no. You get some girl that's beat around by her last 5 boyfriends, obviously not going to be a great chick for you. You meet a girl that's been sexually defunct until she was like 32, obviously not going to be great for you either. And so what do you do when you have all this contradicting information of everybody being wrong and everybody having a grain of truth to it? It's like you just throw it all away. Look at what's happening in front of you. Like he said at the very beginning, he's sitting here stressing over a guy he's never met who did things to his wife that he didn't know about on a notch count that didn't count. Not asking himself the important questions. Is she fucking you now? Is she doing it well, or is it just duty starfish sex? Is she a good mother for the kids? Is she invested in you? Does she treat you well? All these basic questions. Are you happy? What do you want? Instead, the guy's sitting here focused on fruit fly studies and statistics about divorce and an image in his head of some like 3 basketball players railing his wife when she was 19 or I don't even know what. And it's like, whether it's true or not is irrelevant. The fact that you're pedestalizing this woman and you're thinking about this and some kind of like zero-sum game means you're just going to have suboptimal outcomes. That's where he could be in otherwise a perfectly happy marriage and completely ruin it because he's worried that some dick 20 years ago ruined her for him and that she's not giving him the best. Instead, you know, sleep around with a bunch of chicks, realize it's just sex, it's nothing special, and investment is all that matters, right? So in the end, for this one, and we're going to probably end the podcast after this in a little bit of banter, you need to do 2 things. Assume, don't know, but assume she's a slut. Anything she says or does that seems non-slutty is probably an act, because women hide their sluts and their slutty pasts. If she's actually a non-slut, great. But the burden is on her to prove she's an exceptional unicorn of a woman, not on you to assume she's great until she slips up and gets caught in a lie. Second, pretend to be sex positive. Act like you think sluts are cool and fun and funny and smart and that their stories, especially the sexual ones, are just so interesting. Be open, be non-judgmental on the outside while secretly laughing at the inside. Make them feel comfortable as they sleep with you while seemingly being non-judgmental for their past and silently place them in the fuck-only box if necessary. The burden is on her to prove to you she's more than just a fuck object. Not on you to seek out her favorable traits or to vet her and assume she's awesome until she gets caught. So that's what you think about there. And it seems like such obvious advice. Know what you want. Observe, are you getting what you want? And if not, act accordingly. It seems like such a simple, obvious thing, but then, like Rich Cooper always says, men love to complicate their lives and then justify why they do it. This could be such an easy relationship. My wife, she sleeps with me. She's enthusiastic about it. She cooks dinner. She raises the kids well. We have a great family. She's working or she's stay-at-home life real good. Everything's happy. But instead you have to build up this whole narrative about cocks and dicks and science and statistics and this, and to make what was otherwise a good situation absolutely miserable. And on the flip side of the coin, You get these guys that are in these miserable situations where the girl did have a horrible slutty past, and they ignored all of it because she checked the box like Mr. 17 ways to find a good wife. Well, she was godly, she was the right social class and the right age. Meanwhile, she treats you like crap. She doesn't sleep with you except for on your birthday. But she doesn't have a slutty past. That's all that matters. It's like, no. Just look if you're treating well. Dude, I remember... This is such like a hipster thing to say, but I was sitting here with my girl. We went down to our favorite ramen place. Having some ramen. I think I had the white sesame. She had something else. Not really that it matters for the story, but it's really good. If you ever come to Toronto, there's this place called Ishin Ramen. There's a couple chains. Delicious. It's like full on legit. But they have it with like some Canadian taste to it. And beside me, I saw this couple with like a 2-year-old on a high chair, and they were feeding him ramen too. The dude looked like Chad. Tattooed up, muscly. He had like Ed Hardy gear on, baseball cap, like turned to the side a little bit. I'm like, all right, whatever. He seems like a cool guy. And then the girl, she's wearing a sundress, like the sundress summer hat tradcon wife thing, but she had 2 full sleeves, tattoos, like colored, like with the Japanese style ones with the koi fish and shit. Yeah, but he was really sweet to the kid in that, right? Yeah, but yeah, you would have looked at him and thought, oh, what a douche. And I'd looked at her, and it's like, her hair was colored, she's covered in tattoos, she's wearing the sun hat and the summer dress, and I'm like, all right. But they're just like a normal family, sitting there, feeding the kid ramen, eating ramen amongst themselves, laughing, looking at things on their phone. Look over at me and my girl, is like, they're just living the same life as us, and, old couple beside them, just sitting there eating noodles, but you can tell they don't know how to do it because they're boomers. And it turns out this whores don't wear the uniform. People are just people. And he was a great example, and I know it's a snapshot. This is me doing us versus the world, but you just look at them and you just realize, like, he didn't care about... I guarantee that chick's probably fucked a lot of... He's fucked a lot of... They both probably had a gigantic notch count in their past. Fine, whatever. He's just looking in front of him, and he goes, there's the girl that I had a kid with, and we're together, and we're married, and I'm happy, and she treats me well, and I'm happy with that. And it was just amazing. I don't know why that story sticks out to me, but it's just the idea that 2 people can completely ignore all the stupid self-help, tradcon advice on Twitter and just focus on their own happiness. And I'm like, if these 2 tattoo artists can figure it out, why are these high IQ office working genius type people so incapable of doing it, Yeah, hail the mutual high notch count. That's the one thing. Like, it's not, you don't want a high notch count because sleeping with chicks makes you to be a better person. You just learn. Oh, it's just sex. Some of the girls that don't get a lot of sex, they are sometimes the best performance. It turns out it's just like enthusiasm. And some girls have high notch counts, but they're absolutely just brutal in bed. They're boring and they just lay there. And some wives are really good and sexual, and some aren't. And some have had slutty pasts and some haven't. And none of that matters because you have a very hard time finding anything but a weak correlation between suboptimal marriage behaviors, suboptimal marriage outcomes, and sexual history. So what do? Nothing makes sense. Of course it makes sense. Want something? Look at it. Like, what do we got here? We got Torsha's in the chat right now. Let's say Torsha and, I don't know, Rob are together. Torsha maybe has some things in her past. Rob has something in his past, I'll tell you right now. Hey, is she treating me all right? Yeah, I'm happy. Is he treating me all right? Yeah, I'm happy. That's all that matters. But again, it's a hard thing. Like, I know MLD John, I just found out, I guess one of his videos just went viral about how great Japanese women are and how shitty American women are. I know. I can't believe John prefers Japanese women over American, but hear me out. And it's a good message. It resonates well. It did really great on the algorithm, but it's not helpful. A lot of guys just like hearing that it's women's fault. They're all trash and you're great and you're special and these women are better. And it's no different than chicks who buy into like yoga and MBTI and that. Everybody likes to have like a reason that everything is better over there. Everything over here is bad. So it's not my fault. It's their fault for being such retards. And if they would just act like these people that I know nothing about, life would be great. Life would be great. But hey, we are at where we're at. Before I lose you, Let's get some boba.
One of the guys who ran the Red Pill channel sent me a message. I actually appreciate that you took it from an idea-based perspective instead of ever resorting to personal attack. Like, if this movement is actually going to be dangerous, do we need to understand it so that we can take it down? I knew going into it that this might be a hot mess. I'm not going to have those guys back on my channel again. Absolutely not.
That chick, man. Her husband was such a weenie. Like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, dude, why? Whatever. I don't want to shit on the guy. He's got it hard enough on his own. So we're just going to do some bants here. We're going to end the show off in about 10 minutes, maybe 20 at the most. I want to hear from you guys. Heck, we got Torsha in the chat. Torsha, actually, I've heard a rumor. And you're going to have to let me know if this is true or not. Oh, that is a girl called Savvy Writes What? I've heard a rumor that you're actually well-versed in the Red Pill. You've read a lot. You've read the Sidebar, you've read all of Rollo's books, you've read my stuff, you know who Archwinger is. You're actually like a bit of a bookworm. Is that true? Yes or no? The Japanese call their wife homezuka. Yeah. They're really far from happy marriages. Oh, I know. From what I remember hearing, like, I don't have any Japanese friends. I have a French guy who's married to a Japanese girl, and she seems nice enough. But from what I hear in Japan, it's a lot of, like, ball-busting women forcing their men to work themselves to death to buy them nice shit. So I don't know. Oh, true. So it's funny. When I'm done with the book there, and like at the end of the month, next month, I think, I'll have you on the podcast. We'll talk about Claire, which if you don't know what that is, we'll talk about it then. Yeah, control your bladder, mama. Jeez. It's funny every time. Yeah, they all are. I'm not going to use all of them this time, though. So yeah, what about you guys? I don't know. How many of you guys don't watch the Manosphere anymore? You used to love Better Bachelor, and then you fall into the rich Rollo Ryan pipeline, and now you're here, and now you hate other people. I pee on myself, by the way. What the hell, dude? Why would you say creepy shit like that? All right, whatever. I was just getting you all. I was like fluffing you up in the crowd, telling everybody read books. Then you got to throw some weird stuff like that in there. I don't know. Maybe that's what the kids are into now. I don't know. Yeah. You know what? Let's just end it. We're doing good. You guys aren't giving me much to work with. You're just fucking around in the chat. So I don't want to drag this on any longer than it has to be. I don't know who's hosting Rule Zero today because I'm not going to be there because I got to get back to work. I have 1,000 more words to finish on the book that I couldn't get done last night, and then the whole thing is done, and then I'm taking the weekend off because I am burnt out and I am tired. And like Rollo, I have like a regimen for when I'm writing. 5 grams of Piracetam, and then an ECA stack. That's 25 milligrams of ephedrine, 200 milligrams of caffeine, and a nice big chunk of Tylenol. And I swear to God, you can sit down and type for 4 to 8 hours straight without having to lose focus. It was nice, though, because we started off the beginning of the month with like a 30,000 word third draft, and it's up to 110,000 and finally finished. So there was a guy called leave Darius out of this, that fucking tard. Anyways, yeah, so we'll probably talk about it. I'll have some episodes and podcasts where I bring it up. Also, some shameless plugs. So if you're going to tune out, just throw your like up and now's the time. I'm going to throw a plug to the newsletter. RyanStone.com/newsletter. If you're interested in the book, you want to see where things are going, subscribe to this one. And as I'm editing the book, I'm going to give you guys excerpts from it so you can see what kind of stuff is in there, what's interesting. Honestly, it's the Red Pill stuff that I don't have the space or the language filter to be able to talk about on Twitter. It's too complicated a topic to make a video on it. It's large enough of a topic that I don't want to just make a blog on it. It's stuff that you really should know, haven't heard, and nobody talks about, but it's got like hundreds of hours of rigor and experience and experiment and proof and observation tied to it. So it's like, it's about as close as you can get to getting a PhD in Red Pill, as cringy as that sounds, but like not like COVID science cringy, like real science cringy, you know? Oh yes, and that's the last thing. So I was going to end on that too. So I'm back to the Digital Ryan streams on the gaming channel Monday. I took a couple weeks off because it was book time and I didn't want to waste the time on it. So that'll be good. And then at the end of the month, the Minecraft Manosphere build contest will be over. So if you're on the server now, definitely get your builds in before the end of the month. And then merch is coming out. It's going to be a new season of merch. It's going to love it. It's the 10,000 club, or no, the 23,000 club, so it'll be pretty awesome. And then whoever gets the best build in that contest is going to get the first run. Me and them are going to get the first run of it, and then it'll go out to sale everywhere. Again, the newsletter is the place to find updates on that one as well. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, Rule Zero. I don't know who's hosting. You'll have to just go on Twitter. Somebody will tell you. I'm going to catch you guys later, though, man. Where's my thing? Oh, yeah.
Me, I really like corn.
What do you like about corn?
It's corn! A big corn that knobs. It has the juice. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing. It's corn! I can tell you all about it. I mean, look at this thing. When I try them, it I do anything change.
I don't know why I put that in. I just want everybody to enjoy themselves, have some fun. Hope you enjoyed your Rin morning today. This is some end card stuff. Give it some 20 seconds. Have fun, guys. Catch you later.